Hello, everyone. My name is Lily Mora. I'm a professional learning manager at Computer Science Teachers Association. And today you're here because you clicked on a link, on a Zoom meeting link to attend one of our webinars on empowering sisterhood in computer science. This is a part of our Winter 2022 series. Today is Wednesday, February 23, 2022. In the chat, we would love for you to introduce yourself, your location, and a woman that you admire and why. So in the chat, what's your name, where are you tuning in from, and a woman that you admire and why. Let me grab mine. Oh, we have some big names that are being mentioned in the chat. When you get a chance, take a look. Looks like you have a handful of people that you can feature in your CS classes. All right. Okay, so that's the quick warm welcome is in the chat for those of you who are just entering. Introduce yourself, your location, and a woman you admire and why. And we have some CS heroes that are being mentioned and also some personal heroes. Awesome. Okay, we're going to continue, but we hope that's an activity that you would consider using with your students as we celebrate Women's History Month. So this specific webinar is happening right now, which is February, which is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, everyone. But we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to have some resources to take a look at prior, so that if you wanted to integrate them into your lesson plans, then you'd have that time to do that. Today we have a handful of guest presenters, and our first one is coming from NCWIT, which is the National Center for Women and Information Technology. NCWIT is a nonprofit organization that works to increase the meaningful participation of girls and women in computing. And this is from their website. It's an amazing image, definitely worth featuring in your class. Our presenter today is Eva Bradshaw. She goes by she, her, and she is a regional affiliate manager. So let's give a warm welcome to Eva. Eva, you are mute. There you go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eva. I do work for NCWIT, and I'm thrilled to be here with you this evening. It is kind of fun that we're wrapping up Black History Month, starting Women's History Month, and it's also Engineering Week. So we have plenty of things to celebrate and to lift up. So happy to be here with you and excited because CSTA is an organization that, with my work and what I do with our aspirations program, I'm very involved with CS educators. And many of you may know about our aspirations program. I hope that you do. And if you don't, you'll hear more about it as I go forward. And many of you may also know that we do high school awards and also educator awards. So let us know if you're one of our educator award recipients in the past as well. I want to share just a few things with you because it is Women's History Month and we want to share resources. Excuse me while I get my slides to advance. All right, embarrassed here. Let me stop. Well, that didn't go very well. I'm going to try to.
Oh, technology, Eva.
Yes, technology, so great. I'm just going to start again on the next screen and see if I can actually move forward or if I'm just going to talk. So let me give it one more shot here. Women in computing, always there. Are they there? Can you see them?
They are.
So how many of you already know about our notable Women in Computing playing cards? You can pick a card, any card, and on each card, you will find information about a notable woman in computing. As we're looking at the screen, I'm hoping somebody might pipe up and say some woman that they see that they recognize. I know there were some mentioned in the chat already. I'll just throw out a couple that you may see. Katherine Johnson from NASA and from the movie Hidden Figures. That's how we all found out about her contributions, but they were there already. So Katherine Johnson is one of our women. Anybody want to guess, as far as on the screen, the oldest representative of women in computing? 1843, Ada Lovelace. You may have heard of Charles Babbage and his machine that she wrote a script for. So we call that the first program. She was the first programmer. And then, of course, my idol, Grace Hopper, she's actually on the back of all the cards. You may know her as an admiral in the Navy and as one of the first people to work on mainframe computing and programming. But if you didn't know that she appeared on the David Letterman show, go to YouTube and check out that interview. It is hilarious. And it really made me just appreciate her humor, and just her sense of who she was. So that's a fun one to think about. And then Anita Borg. You may know her, you may have heard of her, or you may have heard of AnitaB.org. Nice way to make that happen, isn't it? So AnitaB.org is the organization that does the Grace Hopper celebration every year. So find out more about her using these playing cards. I'll share some links as we move into the resources section of the session as well, so that you can get access to all of this. What's great about these playing cards is you can get the actual playing cards, or you can download them instead. All right, I give up. PowerPoint's not being my friend tonight, so I'm just going to share a little bit more about some resources and some places that you may be able to find information. If you don't have posters up in your classrooms, think about how you could have posters that might be inclusive. And there are some very great resources for women in tech, women in STEM posters that you can put up. Actually, NCWIT also is a source for those. If you're looking for role models, if you want to bring, say, a woman in to talk virtually to your classroom, or if somebody in your class is interested, but you want to give them some support, there are a couple of ways you can do that. Fabfems.org is a collection of women who've agreed to be mentors, and you can reach out to them, or some of you may even want to be mentors. Or the other one is If Then collection. And the If Then collection is something that I'm very excited about. And if you, Lily knows what I'm talking about. If you're seeing anything about these orange statues of women, one of the things that we found is across the country, there aren't very many statues of women. So the If Then collection is 3D printed life-size statues in orange of women who are in STEM. And they're going to be on display in Washington, DC. And it's coming up soon, so they'll be on display so that everyone can see them. This was going to all happen before the pandemic, and then now we're just being able to have those available for people to see. But besides for the statues, their website is a rich resource of interviews, videos, bios, and just lots of fun information that will help all of your students see the rich experience of women in tech that's out there today. I'm going to try one more time. I just am a glutton for punishment. Actually, I have a little video that I wanted to show you. It's of one of our community members. So in our aspirations program, we have members who join in high school through our awards program. So every year in September, high school students can apply for the Aspirations in Computing Award. We're now at the point of the season where we're starting to do selections and recognize them. And we'll have events coming up soon across the country. So locally, and then also we have our national selections as well. So I'm going to let Juliet, if she will, and this works, talk to you a little bit about, yes, everyone cross your fingers, her experience in the Aspirations program.
Eva, are you attempting to share screen?
Yes. And here's Juliet. Third time's a try. Charm.
Hi everyone, my name is Juliet Levesque and I'm a current junior at the University of Michigan studying computer science. I have been a member of NCWIT since 2015, my freshman year of high school, and I'm excited for the opportunity to share NCWIT's impact on my computer science journey with you all here today. I decided to take my first coding class, Introduction to Java, my freshman year of high school after watching the movie The Internship, a comedy about two salesmen played by Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, who after getting laid off decide to pursue a career in technology and begin an internship at Google. I asked my dad to take me to watch it after 8th grade graduation because my celebrity crush at the time, Dylan O'Brien, starred as a stereotypical programmer in the film. Before I saw the movie, I had no perception of what programming really was. But for some reason, perhaps due to some internalized social norms and stereotypes, I knew it wasn't for me. I could never admit to myself that I liked math, and even more so, I could never consider myself as a potential engineer. After seeing the movie, however, where programming was depicted as collaborative, creative, and fun, I was eager to learn more about it. Conveniently, around this time, I was learning about what programming was. The amazing high school computer science teacher, Mr. June Kim, was recruiting girls for Introduction to Java programming, and I decided to try my hand at the class for the first semester of my freshman year of high school. I was the only girl in the class and one of only 2 freshman students, and I felt very intimidated as many of the students had computing experience before me. The concepts we were learning were very new and complex, and I had a lot of trouble wrapping my head around basic programming concepts like functions and object-oriented coding. Ultimately, I suffered from imposter syndrome and I felt very out of place and isolated in the course. But I refused to give up. I was determined to succeed and prove to my classmates and to myself that I belonged in the course. Mr. Kim went out of his way to support me. He met with me out of class to review concepts and made me feel very, welcomed in the class and less alone. All this hard work paid off, and I ended up receiving honors recognition for my coursework in Introduction to Java. Beyond the recognition, I realized that I truly loved computer programming. From that point on, I was eager to take all the classes in computer science my high school had to offer. Mr. Kim was an incredible supporter of computer science education and inclusivity in the course. And honestly, if it wasn't for Mr. Kim in high school, I would not be studying computer science today. He was determined to create a community for women in technology on campus, and I was eager to help him through having booths to introduce programming at my school's STEM days, reaching out to middle school students in robotics classes, and pursuing friendships with girls taking computer science classes and encourage them in their work. Mr. Kim introduced me to NCWIT and suggested that I apply for the high school award. At the time, I wasn't really sure what the organization was, but I heard the words woman and technology, and I was excited. So I decided to apply anyways. In 2015, I was awarded the California, LA, and Orange County Metro Honorable Mention. From there on, I was awarded the same award the following 2 years, in 2016 and 2017. Being part of NCWIT in high school was an important part of my journey in computer science. Not only did I have an immediate resource to ask questions and advice as I navigated the computing space as a woman, but I had a community to support me and feel a part of. The invaluable feeling of a sense of belonging and community for women in technology made a huge difference as I continued to pursue computing in my academic career.
I think you can guess why I wanted her to share that. Now that's a recording, and I need to give you a little bit of an update. She has since graduated from the University of Michigan and is working for Google as a software engineer as of January 2021. So that's our award. That's the kind of impact it can have. And that's why I'm here tonight, to make sure that you all know about our Aspirations in Computing Award. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from others as we continue our celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva. That was really inspiring. And we hope that you all take a look at the Aspirations Award and go check it out and go see all the amazing things that NCWIT's doing to provide resources for teachers and students to really increase that number so that it's not just the one girl in the class like the student was referring to. Thank you so much, Eva. We appreciate your time and for sharing a ton of resources for us to look at. We're going to move on to the next part of our event. We are going to transition to what we call a fireside chat. And so this fireside chat idea was developed last year from Carlos Vasquez, a former professional learning manager at CSTA. And the idea is that we would bring in industry folks or teachers in the field and have these meaningful conversations. And so from these conversations, we're hoping that we can learn more about people's experiences so that we can use that to better the experience of our current students. So today, for our fireside chat with women in the field, we have Snap Incorporated, which is a camera and social media company, but that's best known for Snapchat, Spectacles, and Bitmoji, and then Tanium, which is a cybersecurity and systems management company. And with us today, we have Lindsay Heiser and Carrie Knoll. And so I'd like us to give them an amazing welcome in the chat, or using the reactions, or using your hands to welcome our two guests. Welcome, Lindsay and Carrie.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. You're in a space of about 50 computer science educators and advocates, and maybe more to come as they trickle in. But I'm hoping that you can both introduce yourself, where you're tuning in from, and what you do at your company. And let's start with Lindsay.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you're at. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lindsay Heiser, pronoun she, her, hers, and I am a philanthropy program manager here at Snap Inc., the makers of Snapchat, and I am based in Santa Monica, California at our headquarters.
Awesome.
Hi, Carrie Knoll. I am she, her. I'm here on East Coast in the Research Triangle Park area. Tanium has an office in Morrisville. I live just 18 minutes away from there in Apex, North Carolina. So yes, Tanium, I've only been there since the end of April. I am a first line engineering manager for engineers that work on the front end. So the GUI that our customers and users interface with Tanium.
Awesome. So the next question is, how did you arrive at this place of your career? We're looking at the journey that, of how you got here, and also maybe if you had any like computer science experiences along the way, we'd love for you to highlight that too. And let's reverse. Let's start off with Carrie.
So from the get-go, I was better at math and science than English in any stretch of the imagination. I got put into a GT English class, made a D on the first test, and ran for my life. So math and science have always been my gig and been very outnumbered gender-wise. High school, I took the only computer science class that was available way back in the Stone Ages. It was basic. It was on tape. And I remember that teacher to this day. And the story I always tell is I walked into class one day and everybody had their heads down. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? She's like, oh, we have a test today. Did you forget? Yes, I forgot. I made a 100 on that test. And I was like, okay, I should do this. And so right there in high school, made the decision, applied to NC State. My father was a professor at NC State. I applied to one college. Thank goodness I got in, and I got a computer science degree from NC State. I was a coder until 1992. I was working for Nortel Networks, so I was doing telecommunications things. I wrote a 911 database, which is my claim to fame, and some caller ID on call waiting. In 1992, I decided I'm a very people person, very outgoing for an engineer kind of type person. So I decided to be a manager, and I've been a people manager in engineering since 1992. Went from Nortel to NetApp data storage, and was a manager of some QA kinds of functions, and again, still coding. And now I have joined Tanium, which is security and network management on the front end. So that's how I've centered my career. I'm people passionate, and reward and recognition is also something that's near and dear to my heart.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Lindsay?
Yeah, I love hearing your journey, Carrie. Thank you so much for sharing. I like to look at myself as more of on the non-traditional tech side of things, given my role being a philanthropy program manager, but grew up in the Bay Area and decided to move down to the Southern California area. Yeah. Southern California area to go to school at California State University of Long Beach. I actually majored in business marketing, worked early part of my career at a marketing agency, was introduced to startups and entrepreneurship as a woman mentor of mine was at the agency, and she was leaving to launch a startup, and wasn't exactly sure what that meant at the time, but I was like, all right. And as Carrie was mentioning, people person and really being able to develop relationships with people is very important to me and has been a through line throughout my career. And so I left and was actually first introduced to coding by taking 2 classes that I struggled terribly at through General Assembly, wanting to learn how to be able to better communicate with our developers. And so just wanted kind of like the basic language to be able to make our day-to-day communication, as I was doing a lot of the project management, to be a little bit more turnkey for myself. They were amazing, but I could feel myself really struggling with it and wanting to kind of brush up on some of those skills. Then was able to take the IP from the startup that we had and launch another company. Through that company, one of our clients was the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. And there was an initiative that was taking place in Los Angeles to create career pathways and dual enrollment between high school and community colleges in the, in the greater Los Angeles area. And so was doing some consulting work. And the pathways that we were really focused on were IT, engineering, and then design and digital media, all which were coined as like high growth high paying jobs for students and being able to build out those career pathways. And so a lot of the work that I was doing is I sat in the middle, and what's maybe you're familiar with an intermediary, being able to connect the schools, the educators, the students with the tech companies like the Snapchats of the world. Did that for a number of years of kind of doing work-based or project-based learning, really providing hands-on learning experiences for students. And then about 2 years ago, just right at the start of the pandemic, joined Snapchat. And they said, you know, you've been such an amazing partner. We want you to come in-house to help us build out some of the programming that we've been doing. And so in the role that I'm in now, our mission is focused on providing equitable access to education and STEM career pathways and tech jobs. And so we do that. I know Ava, you were speaking about this earlier, but we do this in the way of like being able to have our team members come and be volunteers as guest speakers, workshop leaders, mentors, judges. So I offer that out to all of you to be able to connect with our team and have different folks in the industry come and kind of share their career journey and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. And then we also launch a number of different programs for both high school and community college students, really focusing on non-traditional tech pathways. We know that, you know, oftentimes companies like ourselves, Snap included, we're recruiting from different universities, four-year universities across the country, but knowing that there are talented folks right here in our own backyard in the community colleges as well as across the country. And so really our philanthropy team does quite a bit of work, whether it's our augmented reality challenges to expose students and beginners to how to create Snapchat lenses to have things in their portfolios to talk about, or our Snap Academies, which are educational learning experiences where they get to come and have a summer of fun with our Snap team at our headquarters.
That's amazing. It's really awesome to hear a big CT advocate in you, Lindsay. So the next question that we have is, what struggles did you experience as it relates to your gender? And we'll go with, let's start off with Lindsay, and then so we'll just keep alternating. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah. One of the areas when I was kind of just sharing my quick journey that I kind of breezed over, but where I feel like I may have had some struggles, or definitely did have some struggles, is that when I was at the startup, we were raising capital. And being young, being a woman and being a Black woman, trying to raise capital from older white gentlemen was really challenging to be able to, and with a product that was very female based. And being able to not only pitch the idea, but be able to present the business case to investors that weren't necessarily our audience was a struggle. However, going through it, I think that the thing that I learned the most was that being able to understand who your audience is. And I would always kind of pull on my old marketing days of being able to understand, you know, what are the different things that they're thinking about and that get them excited, and ultimately what are their goals and objectives that they're trying to achieve, or things that really help strengthen that muscle when it comes to pitching and being able to share, you know, how is it a win-win for both sides? But it definitely was something that was challenging for me. It also encouraged me to, when I was doing a lot of consulting work, to be able to take women and people of color as clients, to be able to share the different challenges that I went through to ensure that it didn't happen to them. And then really fuels a lot of the work that I was doing both at the chamber and now at Snap, of really making sure that underrepresented folks have access and awareness to different career pathways so that we can kind of continue to level up the playing field for all.
Awesome. Thank you. Same question, Carrie. What struggles did you experience as it relates to your gender?
So even as the student whom you gave the award to mentioned, she mentioned imposter syndrome. That's huge. And it can continue to plague you. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the discipline. I seem to suffer imposter syndrome when you stick me in a new job or stick me in a new function. Then you have to play catch up and you have to really exert yourself and do a lot of learning. And that nagging, oh, she should have known that by now. Why is she just now asking that question, is something that we have to get over. You can, when you are asking a question that you may feel that way about, don't forget all the other areas you've been concentrating on and all the other things that you've been learning. You can't possibly learn it all. You can't possibly know it all, but we expect ourselves to. So throughout my career, I've heard of plenty of other women that suffer from imposter syndrome. I've heard of men. I have an architect that works for me now, and he just the other day says he suffers from imposter syndrome. So I was like, oh, I can help. Because when you experience that deep down yourself, you can relate to other people and you can try to help them be rational about how much they know and how they have validly earned the promotion and the position that they've gotten. So that's something that I think is universal, and everybody has probably had experience with that. So another struggle that was something interesting. I am the mom of 3. They are adults at this point. I was having my firstborn back in 1992, and hopefully this situation is not as pervasive today, but I hid my pregnancy because I was up for promotion. So I am now walking around work trying to fit into the same pants that I've always worn at 5 months pregnant, waiting for them to make a decision on this manager promotion. To the point that one of my male colleagues, bold enough friend, to catch me in the coffee room and ask me, "Are you pregnant?" And I said, okay, first of all, you're not allowed to ask that question ever. You never ask a woman that question. So I denied it bitterly. Got the promotion. When the man said, we'd like for you to have this manager role, I said, thank you. That's awesome. I'm 5 months pregnant. And his eyes went like this. And I knew I had made the right decision. So accepted the offer and took 4 months off with my first child. So I, as a manager myself these days, would like to believe that that's not a concern, that it is in the foremost of working moms anymore. But it certainly is where we have come from. Let's see. Getting interrupted. I think that I have definitely suffered the being in a room and getting interrupted persistently. That's just something you have to get used to. You also have to get used to having a great idea, and 5 minutes later, the guy next to you says your great idea, and they hear him and they didn't hear you. The next question is how I have some thoughts in your next question about how you manage that and how you stay okay in a work environment where that happens. But those are definitely struggles that we face. A piece of advice that I got in a class or from a colleague a long time ago was take up space at the table. So when you come in, don't sit in the corner. Don't sit in the back and be quiet. Walk in, sit down, smack proper at the table, and take up space. Be there, be heard, be visible, and participate. And that goes a long way to getting recognition and having that visibility. And it can help mitigate the interrupting and the idea stealing, if you will. But yeah, those are some of the struggles that I've seen and been absolutely participating in throughout my career.
My gosh, I mean, you listed a ton that really dig right into gender issues, gender equality, all the inequities in the workspace, in the classroom. Definitely, I mean, we could have a whole semester of addressing these ideas and what we're doing to make sure that people are more inclusive and that people will learn how to cope with imposter syndrome, because that's very real. So we thank you for your vulnerability and for even sharing that, for calling that out and putting it out there in this space, because
Sure.
people need to hear it.
Yeah.
Students need to understand this is a reality.
Yeah.
And so whether you are perpetuating this, understand that you want to make sure that we're being inclusive for all people, all collaborators. So something that, considering all these struggles that you had, whether whether when you were a student or in your career now, what are some of the opportunities or systems of support that you wish you had or that you have, whether that was in your, your primary, like your student experience, whether that was in college or maybe even in your career. So what are some of the systems that are useful that you want to share with us today? Let's go with Carrie.
Okay. I'm losing track of who goes when. So you have to yell at me. Something that I think is really valuable, and it doesn't matter whether it's in school or work, is having a confidant to bounce things off of. If you're a woman, it's nice to have a female confidant, because there are many times where you can be in an interaction and walk out of it, and you really need to look at your confidant and go, was that a gender thing? And your confidant needs to be close enough and personal enough to you to sometimes go, no, you just need to flush your idea out a little bit better. You know, they need to be able to ground you sometimes. So a confidant, there've been times where I've had a good confidant, and there's been times where I've really needed one. Confidant and then a champion. So I don't think it matters what gender your champion is, but if you can grab and hang on to a champion throughout your career, somebody who thinks of you, somebody who values what you bring to the table and your skill set, and has you in their mind when they hear things come up, and can say, oh, Carrie's perfect for that role. Or did you think of Carrie when you know, for that? So having a champion all throughout your career, doesn't matter the gender, is invaluable. And I've had them in some of my jobs. I remember one back at Nortel Networks. His name was Michael. He was amazing. He, for a time period, was my immediate boss. And that's how we got to know one another. But then as I moved and he moved around organizationally, he was still always my champion. That can move mountains out of your way. As far as a support system that I have participated in that I think is fantastic, and I hope it's having an impact, is visiting middle schools in rural areas. I've generally been the only female that is part of the visiting troop. We'll divide up into groups of 4 and 5, and we go to rural schools. So outside of Wake County, because Wake County has all of the tech industries and lots of medicine, Duke University, all of that's sitting right here, but we'll go out a county or two. And these are kids who their aspirations are very classic: fireman, nurse, teacher, working at the grocery store, opening a dry cleaners, and they don't think about tech because it's just outside of their world. It's outside of any realm of exposure that they have. So we go and we visit and we talk, we let them ask questions, we do our rah-rah speeches, and to have a woman show up and get to talk to middle schoolers, because we were told when we volunteered for this program that that's when kids make the decisions generally. That's when they rule out tech, is that early. And I was surprised by that because I didn't make my decision until high school. But to learn that girls are like, nah, can't do it, and decide that they can't when they very well can, is in middle school. I've enjoyed that very much. We usually go into single classrooms. This one middle school had us in the gym and they brought everybody in. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared for this. And I was on such an adrenaline rush after that event that I love it. And I hope that it did hit some middle school girls in rural North Carolina and got them to realize they can.
That's awesome. Lindsay, any opportunities or systems of support that you have or wish you had in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Just listening to Carrie, I'm like going to piggyback off of a lot of the things that you just said. I think I might work backwards in saying, that's what I love about my job, is that I get to help organize those types of events that you go out to with your colleagues and team members, because it is so important. It's so important for young girls. It's so important for young people of color to see themselves in these roles at these tech companies, and being able to have that moment to say, oh my gosh, she looks like me. Oh my gosh, she came from the same place that I did. We went to the same school, or just connect on the smallest thing to feel like that there's some sort of connection. Because oftentimes when they're the first ones in their family to be pursuing college, or the first ones to go into tech, et cetera, of like, having somebody else that they can talk to. And I think that that leads into what Carrie, what you were mentioning, is the sense of like being able to have somebody, whether it's a mentor or a champion throughout your career, is so instrumental. And I've been so blessed to have amazing, both men and women, that have supported me at every step of my career. And to what Carrie was mentioning of like talking about like moving mountains for you, it's a game changer when you have somebody else that's thinking about you when you're not even in the room and will suggest like, oh, Lindsay might be a great fit for that. Like, why don't we all connect and talk about that? I've been able to work on amazing campaigns outside of my philanthropy role here at SNAP around some things around like DEI, just kind of given the intersection of what I care about, given the fact that I have team members that have been my champions and have said, Lindsay would be a really great fit for that. And I think the other piece too, kind of building upon that, is that because of the fact that we have experienced that, I think the other key piece too, and something that I'm really passionate about, is reaching back down and making sure that I'm doing that for others, right? Making sure that I can sign up, and although that it's my day-to-day job to, be a guest speaker, or excuse me, to schedule guest speakers or to have our team members be mentors. That's why it was so amazing to be here with all of you, because it's important for me too, even though that I'm like the philanthropy manager, it's like everybody can do that. And there's a space for all of us to show up and connect with other people, to be able to show that there's different ways, there's different careers, there's different ways into the tech industry and what you may do. And that I've had such amazing mentors of being able to bestow that knowledge onto other people, and be a champion to be able to provide opportunities for others around me, to be able to ultimately impact the greater good, from that standpoint. I think also the other thing that I'll just say, like when it kind of comes to systems, is also for myself, of being in other like-minded peer groups. So being around other folks that I can learn from, and that I can bounce ideas off of, and that I can share the challenges that I'm going through, and that like we were able to work through them and brainstorm through them. And that also I have a network of other people, so that when faced maybe with a challenge or a struggle, there is like that safe, like what I like to call that kind of like safe group of people, or like my tribe, that I feel safe and comfortable with, that I can go and say, hey, this is what's going on. And as Carrie was mentioning, being able to say like, is that me? Am I in my head? Or do I need to get out of my own way and just be a little bit more open because I needed to explain the idea better, or my idea wasn't all the way thought through? And when it's like that safe group of people that I know that care about me and want me to do better and are going to push me over and over again in my career, I'm able to remove my own ego and remove maybe some of the sensitivities around things, and be able to say like, let me step up to the plate. Let me like continue to push myself to be better. And so I just encourage all of us to be able to do that for other people, and not get in the way. Because I will say that it's sometimes and oftentimes when folks are looking for, women in engineering or in computer science, and they connect with me, I'm like, well, I'm not technically an engineer, and getting out of the way of being able to say, oh, okay, but that's a great way to show people that there's multiple different ways to support and be a part of the community as well. So I think those are just a couple of the different things that I think have really helped me thus far, both in education and my career.
I'm hoping that in the space of educators and advocates, that they're finding that type of community, that tribe in our chapters, in our computer science teachers associate chapters. But my last question for the both of you is there a teacher, instructor, or mentor that you want to appreciate? And we'll start off with Lindsay.
Yeah. The first person that comes to mind is my mentor, a dear friend now, gosh, like a constant collaborator, number one person, cheering squad, and in my tribe. Her name is Julie Thorne Ingalls, and we met very early in my career. I had started, as I had mentioned, at that marketing agency as an intern out of college. And it was this moment where I was like, oh, school's going to be over and I need to get a job. And everyone was talking about like, you need to get an internship, you need to get an internship. And this was years ago. And so yes, people had internships, but I don't remember that they were as talked about as they are now. Now it's like, that's not, I shouldn't say the only conversation, but that is always part of the conversation. Back then, I don't know that it was, but it was also during, I had joined the agency and the year before the recession or so. And at that time, we were probably 35 or 40 people in the agency, and we went down to about 6 people because of the recession. And I was one of the people that were able to keep my job, and Julie was my manager. And I remember she came in one day and she said, listen, Lindsay, things haven't been looking good for the agency, but I want us to band together. And she's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to sell work to our entertainment and our CPG clients. And I'm going to come back and I'm like, I'm going to teach you how to be able to execute and run these multi-million-dollar campaigns. Mind you, I'm just coming out of college. I'm like, all right, great. But it was the idea of the opportunity to learn and be able to have an opportunity to shape my career that I will be forever grateful for, because it is the things that I learned way back then are things that I still use in my day-to-day today. And it's been an opportunity of a lifetime to continue to grow. And as we've continued to have different jobs and careers, still stay very connected, think about each other, and again, have that safe person that's a sounding board to be able to share both life and professional, or I should say personal and professional things as a part of my life. So it's definitely Julie who's been right by my side and has been an amazing mentor to me.
She sounds great. Carrie?
So I would call out Kathy Hill, who was that high school math teacher whose name I still remember and I can still see her. Changed my entire career idea. And I'm really happy that she was there. And my mom is now 81, and my mom taught, I'm gonna cry. My mom taught me that anything the guys can do, you can do. And damned if I didn't take that and emblazon it on my chest and take it with me everywhere. Math, science, that's not just for guys. And I believed that. And I never set that down. So, and I told her that I was doing this tonight. She goes, I can't remember what she said in the text message, but she was encouraging as always. So she's always been encouraging. She's always had my back, and she's always told me that I could do anything I ever wanted to.
We want to thank you both so much. This has been such an inspiring moment. You both shared some really amazing topics, and we're really open to, what helped you in the past, those struggles that fuel you to keep getting better, to be better, to keep improving. And even ending it with a teacher or a mentor that is continuing to still impact you, even if they're not currently in your life right now, like a teacher from the past. But we are definitely inspired by you. And I'm also hoping that everybody on this call think about what are ways that you can inspire others, like what Lindsay and Carrie are doing, going back into the community, whether you're connecting people with others or you yourself are going to those rural middle schools to go and be a role model to others. So we want to thank you so much for your time. This was amazing. We are going to have this recording available for our members. It'll be on YouTube. We'll share that with you too, so that your mom can also watch and tune in. But we appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going to transition because we also wanted to ensure that everyone on this call, especially our teachers, have resources that you can utilize as you celebrate Women's History Month. So in the slide deck, and I'm going to ask any of my teammates to pop that link to the slides. We're not going to do the lesson. I just wanted to introduce to you to a quick lesson that can be as short as 10 minutes, but it's called Her Story of Computer Programming. It's a rapid research interactive timeline activity that you can use with your students. And in the slide deck, you can access about a 6-minute video that was produced by PBS Digital Studios about the origins of women in computing, and it has a lot of those women that were mentioned in the cards that Eva presented earlier. And so basically it's a research question where were there any women in early programming history? So you would give students an opportunity, 5 minutes, to go and Google their hearts out to find as many women that impacted computing. And so what we provided is a Jamboard that you can just make a copy of and share it with your students, and you can put them in groups or have them work together as a whole class, and then allow them to start inputting pictures and images and links of information so they can all begin to brainstorm who are all these women, so we can identify the her story of computing. So here's an example of what it looked like with a group of learners just kind of dumping stuff on this Jamboard. And then you can definitely have an extension activity if you wanted to after, if you wanted to like pick a hero that you focus on, whether it's in a group, individually, or as a class, and however you want to cycle that throughout Women's History Month, that you would feature somebody and let's learn more about this one person and how did that impact the lives that we're living right now. So something that was done maybe like decades ago that still continues to have impact now. So we also have other resources in the slide deck. We have some inspirational videos. Eva did mention the If Then She Can, the exhibit, but they also have a website that you can also access that has videos and like fact sheets on each person. There's also another one called Career Girls, and you can research by specific career. You can find women and women of color. It's a very diverse group of people that they are featuring. There's also a short video that's about 4 minutes long by SciTech Now, by PBS. Called Women in Tech, but it's specifically about video game development. I thought that was a very specific, unique one that you might want to consider. There's a ton out there, but we just wanted to give you all a taste. There's also some mentoring programs like NCWIT had talked about. Here are some other ones that you might want to take a look at, but you definitely, we just give you all the links and you can go and check them out. If you find something really awesome, can you please share that in the virtual community so that others can be directed that way? There are some tech programs for girls. Many of us know Girls Who Code. There's Sci Girls, Girl Start, all these links of programs that exist that you can see what might be in your region, or maybe you want to start so that you can bring it there, or in even some competitions and summer camps like Project CS Girls, Technovation, which is all year long, or something that's maybe like a week long, like Girl Start, which is a 1 week long summer camp. So a ton of stuff for you to check out. So if you have a moment in the chat, list an idea or resource for celebrating Women's History Month. We'd love to add more to this running doc of resources to share with others. So if you have a moment, please share. Black Girls Code, yes, definitely, that's something we need to include. And we have shecanstam.com. That's an awesome one, Eva. Thank you so much. So we are so grateful for you to be here today and to join us. We are hoping that you would give us some feedback about your experience here today by completing this event survey. By doing so, we will utilize that information to make the future events better. And also you'll receive a certificate of completion that'll arrive at your email as soon as you submit. Also, we have some upcoming CSTA events that we wanted you to be aware of. The PLS series for winter, we have some bonus events for Black History Month that we hope you're going to check out. One of them is tomorrow. If you are free tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, we have an event titled Black Tech Entrepreneurs Panel. The dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. We hope that you are going to check that out. Tune in. It's going to be amazing. They have quite a lineup. We also have another surprise one that's titled Tackling Inequalities in CS Education in the Classroom and Beyond. That is hosted by CSTA and CS for All. That's at 4:30 Central Time. And then also equitable CS assessment practices on the 14th of March. We have a code in play, which is our come and check out a platform, collaborate and learn something new with other teachers before you try it with your students at the end of March. And then in April, on the 2nd, so the first weekend of April, we have our Equity in Action Summit, and the theme is Commit to Inclusion. This is our virtual spring summit that we hope you tune in to, because they have a really great keynote speakers, and there's workshops to really take information so that we can really improve the inequities in our classrooms, so that it's not just a homogeneous type of group of students that are impacting the field of computer science. So we also want to give you a sneak peek of what you're going to see in spring. In spring, on the very last slide of this slide deck, you'll see what we have planned. They're not currently on Member Nova yet because we are confirming our speakers, but they will be soon. And then you'll see that blasted on the newsletters and on social media. But we wanted to thank you all for being here today. This was such an amazing event. Eva, Carrie, and Lindsay, you are all champions, heroes, and we are so grateful that you would come and speak to our community. And we hope that you have a great Black History Month and that you prepare for Women's History Month in March. Thank you all. Have a great day.